Welcome to Lynn Cullen Live, talk radio without the static. Email your questions and comments to lynn@pghcitypaper.com. And now your host, Lynn Cullen.
Yeah, hi, Lynn Cullen, who's wheezing and hacking today. It's spring. It's Tuesday, too. That means my sister Susan is joining us. Hi, Suze.
Good morning. That sounded almost soprano-like.
Really? Well, I don't know. Let's get it back in the register it usually belongs in. But no, I'm almost every inhalation I start coughing. I'm just, I don't want to know what the pollen count is today, but it's, anyway. Okay, so did you have a synagogue there that got Molotov cocktailed?
I think there was something happening there, and I wasn't here.
That was just the other day.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they lucked out in that it didn't catch fire. But yeah, I was just wondering because I did see something about it,
I heard something about it on the news, but I came in at the end of it and I didn't quite hear what it was, and I think I just assumed that it was something about old events, not new events.
No, it's.
But I think because nothing terrible happened, it just sort of flamed up and went away, both in the news and in reality.
Well, this is from today's Washington Post, and it said that it happened on Sunday. 3 Molotov cocktails in the Lakeview East neighborhood, just north of downtown Chicago.
Okay, so I live in Lakeview West.
Right. I thought you lived in Lakeview, and then I thought, but
yeah,
I
I live in Lakeview.
West.
Yes, I live in Lakeview.
Okay. Well,
yeah.
I'm just saying.
So that's the part of Lakeview that's down near the lake.
As opposed to your Lakeview, which
is a mile from the lake.
Yeah, and it's sort of hard to see the lake unless you get way up in somebody's 20-story house or something, I guess. Okay, I just wondered because I saw Lakeview and wondered if it was near you. They got the guy on.
Well, near-ish.
Well,
because it always surprises me, but nothing's all that far away from anything in Chicago. It just takes you a long time to get there, but it's all pretty close.
No,
you
just said applies to Pittsburgh,
that's
but
within
not
a mile
Chicago.
of me somewhere around here.
Yeah,
that's a mile spoke of me somewhere.
Yeah, but anyway,
in a very narrow range towards the lake. Yeah.
But apparently, this comes also as the police in Chicago have been finding a lot of broken car windows parked outside other synagogues in the city.
And there's been a lot of bad graffiti. There's been a lot of stuff going on. I mean, that's what I was hearing in the report from the locals.
Right. And so the cops put out that they have ordered special attention at all Jewish schools, synagogues, and businesses following vandalism and attempted arsons. They have good video evidence, so it would seem they're going to get the guy who tried to do the
bombing,
the Molotov cocktail. So, anyway, just saying, and so it goes.
And so it goes. No, and we had our rally with the women. I understand the reference, but I'm getting tired of women standing around in red capes with white hats on.
Well, I do think, though, that is a picture of where
it is the
heading.
reference. It's absolutely the reference.
I mean, I never watched The Handmaid's Tale. I read the book a long time ago. But
I get the reference. I understand the reference, but there's just something about it that I'm just, maybe I'm so outraged that I don't want to see anything that in any way, gives someone a way to dismiss it.
Well, I don't think I don't have the same
Yeah,
reaction
yeah,
to
I know.
that.
I'm probably being grumpy. Don't
Yes.
worry about it.
Okay. Well, I'm here from a Michelle Goldberg opinion piece in the Times. The fact is, we are now at a point where we know there is an anti-abortion majority on the Supreme Court, and it is quite likely that women's constitutional protection against being forced to carry a pregnancy and give birth against their will is going away.
That's right. And which is why I'm outraged, and which is why I have stopped talking to, characterizing anyone who is anti my right to have autonomy over my body as a forced birth terrorist.
Well, stop and think about it. Being forced to, this is where we will be.
These are forced birthers. This isn't if this were pro-life, we would have gun control. If heartbeats mattered, then dead kids in school would matter. And you would be standing on the same side as us with that. But you're not. You're on the other side on that. So this isn't about heartbeats. And by the way, at 6 weeks, that isn't exactly a heart, and there's not any real circulatory system. It's called the fetal stick or something like that.
This is, as usual,
this is
crazy.
Ridiculous.
It's scientifically
ludicrous. Ask these people, where are my rights? Why do my rights cease the second that I am impregnated? Where is it written in the Constitution that a woman's right to exist, the way she chooses to exist, cease the minute she is impregnated? I've had it. This is overreach. This is so bad. You know how I feel about this. I've told you. I really feel we need to plan a general strike. Women need to withhold their labor. Women need to withhold their money. The men that love us need to walk out with us, and we need to walk out and stay out and let this country understand the power that we hold and that we will no longer be denied. I've had it.
I can tell. That's good,
How's
Suze.
that?
I think you should run for office.
I'm too old.
No, you're not.
But I'll rabble-rouse, and I'll get someone else to do it, and I'll push them up there, and I'll incite people to riot. You bet I will, because people are coming up to me and telling me that I am less of a person than a couple of cells within my body, and I'm not having it.
I hear you. I just don't think people think of it the way we have just characterized it. That what these bills do is have the state take over a woman's body and force her to
deny her personhood in favor of potential life, no matter what it is. Her life doesn't matter. Those cells matter more.
And that's why the red dressed women, I mean, why that is sort of a perfect metaphor, because that is what happened in that story, that women became simply, that is the only value
forced
they
birthed.
had.
Yeah, right.
This is all about controlling women. This is all about religion, specific religious beliefs infecting our so-called secular government.
Which is also nonsense. The Judeo-Christian God is not pro-life. And I'll point you to Passover to prove it.
I mean,
the
he killed
death of the firstborn.
Yeah, he killed, that God.
Then he wipes out all of the alreadys. He takes them out in the Red Sea. He didn't care about fetuses. Where did God? This is man's word.
It's man's
This
word.
is man's word seeking to control women. It is not God, because even the books that the men wrote didn't think that God gave a shit about this shit.
About life.
Excuse me.
No, God.
Yeah.
God genocided the world in
The whole world,
with
except
the
for
flood.
Noah and the ark.
And then he like wiped out like well, for you Game of Thrones places, it's like, you know, wiping out if you had a dragon, just destroying entire towns and cities. I give you Sodom, I give you Gomorrah. Yeah. That's really pro-life kind of a God.
And then we got all these people walking around and nodding. Oh yeah. And it's crap that's based on crap, that's based on bad science crap, that's based on nothing, all in the service of controlling women. They've gone too far.
And they must be put
we
back
should not
in their
allow
place.
this, ladies.
Yeah. And, you know, Susan and I are beyond childbearing years. And I wonder how much the young women are aware of where this is heading, because they've never known it. They can't even imagine it. And what...
Well, they've had the right to control their bodies to delay birth as long as they want, so they probably can't even imagine not wanting to have a baby once they manage to conceive, because they've waited 15 years too long. But, you know, that's the way our life is going these days. I mean,
well, they're choosing, a lot of them are simply choosing not to procreate, or...
But they are choosing to use contraceptives, and if you don't think that's next, think again, ladies.
Exactly right.
You thought you weren't going to lose this right, so don't go, oh, that wouldn't happen. Mm-hmm. Yes, that will happen. And then the next thing that'll happen is maybe we aren't smart enough to vote if we have periods. Yeah, that could happen too.
Michelle Goldberg points out something that I've noted a lot of people have pointed out, that the women who are standing, you know, who are enraged right now, saying we will not go back to a pre-roe America, need to understand that we aren't probably looking at a pre-roe America. We're looking at something worse. Because if you look at pre-roe America, they were not. Pre-roe America was not engaging in the kind of language that is now just a given in this battle. The fact is, the abortion bans that are going into, that are being voted on in legislatures all over the country are far, far harsher than anything that existed before Roe. I mean, you can go back to the 1800s. There were no such laws. It's unbelievable.
No, someone actually in Texas, somebody puts up this thing. I mean, it is spawning a lot of humor, saying, I'd like to point out that if you're already jailing me for aborting my baby, that I'm going to come after the son of a bitch that impregnated me and kill his ass, because there's nothing a woman likes better than a BOGO. Buy one, get one. I mean, if you're going to lock us up anyway, we'll blow the guy that impregnated us away. I mean,
right,
this is
Susan.
just ridiculous.
Susan, here's a
what? I thought that was funny.
I didn't. I didn't. Here is a tweet.
You think
Here is
BOGO
a tweet.
isn't funny? I did.
No, here's a tweet that says it all. Okay? You'll like this one.
Okay.
If a woman has sex with 100 random men in a year, she can still only produce one full-term pregnancy. Correct?
Correct.
Okay. However,
if
a guy has sex with
100
100, Susan, if a guy has sex with 100 random women in a year, a man could produce 100 100 full-term pregnancies. So why is it exactly why we are only talking about regulating women? It's the men who are impregnating women who need to be stopped, okay? Why is that never part of the conversation?
Well, I'll know what it is part of the conversation, and the phone should be ringing any minute because this has been a conversation by one of your listeners. But absolutely, no pregnancy occurs without a man. A woman cannot get pregnant by herself. And yes, the ones that are spilling their seed are all men. And perhaps, if miscarriages under some of these laws, can be investigated.
That's right,
well,
they can.
Why is not a man's masturbatory spilling of his seed not some withholding of a future life such that we should cut off his dick?
Yeah, every man who masturbates should be able to, look at that. Look what they're doing. They're depriving
the potential. Oh my
life.
God, I swear, I hear half a heartbeat.
Listen to this. In states today,
also, men are the only ones that can determine the sex. So obviously, a woman by herself can't do diddly squat.
States that have decided that fetuses are people, that is something that was not true before Roe v. Wade. That concept would have been laughed out of a court prior to Roe v. Wade, and I imagine after for a long time. The fact is that in those states, women have been arrested on suspicion of harming or endangering their fetuses, including by using drugs, attempting suicide, or in the case in Utah, a woman wanted to delay her C-section and she was arrested. There's no reason to believe that in states where abortion is considered homicide, which is what these things are saying, that prosecutors will be less punitive. So there's Texas legislators held a hearing on a bill just last month that would allow women who have abortions to be charged with homicide and potentially subject to the death penalty.
Well, that's what that was resulting in the tweet saying, well, the woman will just, there's nothing a woman likes more than a buy one, get one free sale. She'll just blow the man away, too. But here's the thing. There are also, that's not quite true. I mean, I'm sure there are prosecutors that will go, full bore on this. There's also a large group of state prosecutors that are showing up and saying, hey, we decide every day what to charge and what not to charge. And these cases are unprovable to a large extent, and we're simply not going to prosecute them. So you legislate away, we ain't prosecuting.
I also think, when a woman gets pregnant now in this crazy culture of ours, she almost becomes public property immediately. So if a visibly pregnant woman is at a restaurant, and if she were to order a glass of wine, I mean, I can see people reporting that. That's where we are right now, as if one glass of wine would harm that fetus. I'm serious. I just think this over. Oh no! Did you see? She didn't do this. She did that. I mean, women are doing it to other women in that regard. I mean, Susan and I were carried by a mother who didn't change a damn thing she did while she was pregnant.
Oh no! I'm sure she was drinking a scotch every night before. Are you sure?
And if she'd been a smoker, she would have been smoking. And if she took...
Well, her mother was certainly smoking around her.
Yeah, whatever. I mean, look how damaged we are. I'm so sick of it all. I can't see straight. Granting personhood to fetuses has already enabled states to hold women to new types of control. In 2014, this was reported by ProPublica, or however you pronounce it, A woman was arrested under Alabama's chemical endangerment of a child statute for taking half a Valium while she was pregnant. She was arrested.
Good Lord.
No, the anti-abortion crowd has gone right off the. I mean, they're like.
Well, they're drunk with power.
Well, that they are. Lynn says, I agree we women must do something disruptive. I like your sister's idea. Or 1 million women lying down on Pennsylvania Avenue and refusing to move. Yeah, we need to do something.
Something not pretty.
Something
that shows our power and shows that we're serious and we ain't going away.
Margaret
and they can't tell us what to do.
Yeah. Margaret Atwood, who wrote The Handmaid's Tale, said this: men often ask me, why are your female characters so paranoid? It's not paranoia, she replied. It's recognition of their situation as women in a patriarchy. No, I don't know. It's everybody who really does know about the history of this in this country says where we are potentially heading is truly dystopian, and we've never been there before. God. All right. What else we got? Hey, did you see?
I'm all yelled out.
I know, it's okay. Did you see where Trump, I don't know which thing he's appealing. Is it the ruling that his
Oh yeah, he has to that his financial documents have to be
turned over? Well, that's what the federal judge says, but now of course they'll appeal, and I guess they appeal to the DC Circuit. The DC Circuit Court is headed by a judge whose name might ring a bell. Merrick Garland.
Karma.
Karma's a bitch.
Karma comes again. But then, what's the court after the karma court?
Well, the court after the karma court would be after the D.C. Circuit. Wouldn't it then be the Supreme Court? Or there's not another level? Yeah.
It's the Supreme Court. So
yeah, great.
This is where,
Yeah.
This and then we'll see what happens.
And if the Supreme Court doesn't follow the Constitution, but rather the political winds from the right, the constitutional crisis we are already in will deepen in an alarming way.
Well, I mean, at that point, if I'm sitting here with my television on, mute, watching what they're now calling the empty chair hearing, because McGahn hasn't shown up.
Yeah.
And if we try to follow process and we're not allowed to have process, well then you simply have to impeach. That's it. You simply have to impeach him.
Yeah. And that
he's leaving them no choice. And
that
that's
realization
what a lot of people are telling Pelosi now.
Right. The realization is growing that if they don't have a choice. To uphold the power of that the founders put in the legislative branch, they're going to have to impeach this guy and not worry about the Senate not convicting. They're going to have to impeach.
That's right. They can't worry. You can't say, I'm not going to do my duty because the next guy isn't going to do his duty, so I won't do my duty first. No, you do your duty.
Yeah.
Let the Senate do whatever the Senate's going to do. You don't know. There might be a few. Let the Senate do whatever they do, and they'll live or die by what they do. But they should do. Our representatives should represent us.
There's been this one Republican congressman from Michigan who has said that Trump should be impeached, which is the first break. Now, he's an outlier in general, but still, we finally have one Republican saying you can't read the Mueller report and not see that it is essentially saying this guy should be impeached. He's the first congressional Republican to call for that impeachment, given the findings of the Mueller report. And that's brave of him. He's a weirdo. He was a Tea Partier. That's how he got to Congress. He was a Tea Party guy, and then he was a founder of the House Freedom Caucus, which is that real right-wing Tea Party caucus in the House. And what's fascinating is that
they actually had values.
Yes, he actually believed what the Tea Party was saying it believed in. And he says...
honest, smaller government.
Yeah,
right.
And he says this about that. So this is a guy of principle. Whether you agree with his politics or not, he says this. It turns out a lot of them, and he's talking about all the other Tea Partiers, it turns out a lot of them were not in favor, really, of limiting the size of government. They were just opposed to the president at the time. And then he went on to say the Tea Party is largely gone. It was replaced with nationalism and protectionism, and the general philosophy of the party is now Donald Trump's. So there you go. But he, if he starts speaking out, he just might flush out or embarrass out one or two more. I don't know. Jeez. Melanie writes, people definitely take ownership of pregnant women. I and almost everyone I know who's been pregnant have stories. Here are a few. A woman at work who jokingly chided me for drinking a Pepsi. It's not good for the baby, she said. Walking into a liquor store to buy wine for a dinner party and getting weird looks from people. Yeah, disapproving looks from people. Then, of course, all the comments about how big or not big you are, how high or low you're carrying, and on and on. Eventually, someone will even ask if you're dilated yet.
Oh, and total strangers touching you.
Yeah.
Total strangers walking up and putting their hands on your, upper and lower abdomen. Sometimes two hands.
Well, Melanie says, I can't remember anyone actually touching my stomach, but I know it's happened to friends. And she says, I know a lot of this is just well-meaning small talk, but God, does it get old. People should shut the F up.
No, all issues around fertility seem to be up for everybody's information. So if someone's infertile, people seem to think they have the right to say, is it your fault or is it your husband's?
Yeah. Right.
The same thing like when you get cancer, did you smoke, or whatever, what did the behavior inappropriate would be? If you had a heart attack, were you a smoker? That sort of stuff. It's to ward off whatever, it's to ward off any bad vibes coming your way. But people seem to think they have a right to intimate information. And procreation is a pretty intimate subject.
We have
which is another reason why other people, saying anything about it is amazing. Go ahead.
We have a caller. That's all I wanted to say. Hello, caller.
Hi there.
Hi.
Hi. You ever notice these anti-abortion people? They don't want to, after the baby's born, they don't give a shit about it at all. They vote against CHIP, food stamps, anything that would help to raise the child. They don't want nothing to do with it.
Right.
And those 24 congressmen, they had to help raise the kid if they want that kind of board. Take it out of their pay every month. I mean, that's the kind of bullshit these idiots come up with, and I just can't believe their shit. Time to get them all out. Time to get them out.
I'm with you. We agree.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Little Tony has emailed and said that I need to remind folks that this is a election day here in Pittsburgh. And it's one of those elections that we forget about because it's not national. Just things that don't matter, like school boards and judges.
Oh, please! That's where the
district
things
attorneys
that most influence you happen. Go vote.
This is the most important. Most important thing. Geez, I was watching Jeopardy last night, and a candidate for school board knocked on my door, and I was really annoyed because
You don't have a pause function?
no, well, I suppose I do, but I don't know. So, and then she was so delightful that I ended up, I think, keeping her longer than.
She wanted to be. Well, good. She got to vote. That's
Well,
good.
we have a,
Don't forget to vote.
Well, in this particular election, my district has two really impressive women running against each other, and you think, damn, there's bozos in another district, or somebody not even with nobody running against them. And then in our district, there's two really qualified
don't you
women.
have a school board election every year? People should just know that if you really want to do it, you be prepared to run more than once, and you'll get in, especially if you're good. And if the person that got ahead of you knows how good you are, it would behoove them to work for you and get another vote that they like on
No. But the way
board.
we work is by district. So these people would be, once you're in, you've got the seat. And
and no one else gets
it's not
the
at
seat.
large.
I get it.
It's not at large. So
I got it.
it's a shame that you can't have both, but I'm voting for the one who interrupted Jeopardy last night.
So it paid off.
Well, she's more of an insurgent, whatever. Yeah,
Right,
it paid off for her. Yeah, whatever. But there's a lot going on with these judicial elections, the district attorney primary. If you want to let the DA here, who's been the DA forever, know that you're not particularly happy with the prosecution and incarceration of young black men in this town, and other decisions that have been made by the DA in regard to excessive police behavior. The odds are he's a shoo-in, but I would like to see him
Get a little scared.
get scared. I would like to see. He doesn't have I don't think, a very strong opponent.
That's a terribly important election. This isn't just a little school board election. This is and the other thing about school board elections is that that's where some of your best politicians start. That's where they get their feet wet. That's where they get their political base and supporters and name known among the people that, go before them. And so those positions are really important.
I was watching a documentary last night on Netflix, and it was following a lot of the young women, and some, I guess, not so young, come to think of it, that because of Trump and just the way things are, thought, you know what, I gotta run. And so they primaried These are women who primaried Democratic men, generally, who, were deemed untouchable. And somebody had the idea of following their campaigns. And one of the women is Alexandria. Why am I blanking all the time on her name?
Cortez.
Yeah, but it's the O one, the O.
Octavia Cortez or
no,
something?
It's not Octavia, but whatever. Let me tell you. So she is in this thing from the point at which she decides to run, and where she's still working as a bartender. So you see her, doing all the work she had to do. You see her out on the street. You see the condescension that the congressman she's trying to unseat subjects her to. You see him getting nervous as the campaign goes on. And she took down one of the most powerful Democrats in Congress. That's who this guy was. His name was Crowley. And he was like number 3 or 4 in Democratic. I mean, she took down a kingmaker, somebody who was supposedly untouchable. And throughout, she is so extraordinarily articulate and real and just brilliant. I mean, I have to admit.
Right, and willing and willing to learn. She's
Ocasio-Cortez.
Ocasio, right. I mean, she is willing to learn. When she makes a misstep, she apologizes first, thinks second, and then really apologizes. You know, I mean, she's working at getting this right. I don't think she wants to blow it.
No. She's really impressive.
Really impressive.
Really impressive. Beth writes.
And she's surrounded by a bunch of very impressive people. That's where she's really done her homework. She's got people doing theirs that keep her smart and looking good. And if you don't have that, there's no way she can be as smart as she is about all of this without having people doing all of the hard work for her and feeding it to her in a very good way. And her staff is doing a great, great job.
Well, she's simply, she's passionate and smart.
And she's passionate. I mean, she starts out with believing it, but they're giving her all of the wherewithal to accomplish it. And I'm just saying that because I know how that went just being on a school board. I can be passionate and direct people and lead a board. I'm very good at that. But I had this brilliant woman sitting next to me, sliding me facts and figures as I would be ranting that would support everything I was saying if questioned. And that's what you need. You need people to give substance to your natural passion.
Beth writes, it has always driven me nuts when you hear the stories of some single mother who has left children at home alone while she is either at work or the grocery store or a bar. She, of course, is arrested, but you never hear of any DA looking to arrest the father, who also was not there, who abandoned these children.
Well, no, they left a long time ago. Yeah.
And she also
ain't paying child support either.
Yeah. She also adds, Susan, I liked your BOGO joke. Just saying.
Thank you. And I'm sorry, I wasn't delivering it properly, but I thought it was funny too.
Whatever. Somebody summed up everything I think about. You try to even comprehend how people could look up to Donald Trump. And this guy succinctly, I think, put it together. This is, I don't know how many words, but it ain't many. Trump is a weak man's idea of a strong man. He is a stupid man's idea of a smart man. He is a poor man's idea of a rich man, and a moron's idea of a businessman. And all of that is true. People who simply don't really understand what a businessman, what a smart man, what a rich man, what a strong man is, and how they comport themselves and what their stories are. That he is like some cartoon image that appeals to people who don't have a clue about business or wealth or strength, real masculine strength. And the fact that there's so many people like that just, oh God, just worries you. Okay.
Well, but you know they are banding together and making clubs, like those boys that can't get laid and like the people that are running around putting graffiti on synagogues. I mean, there's a lot of them.
There's another story that we haven't talked about and that hasn't, I don't think, gotten a lot of press around here, with who just sort of taking up all the oxygen all the time. There is this repulsive Republican congressman from Ohio named Jim Jordan. We have been treated to him at some of these hearings, and he is just loathsome. This is the guy who I guess never wears a jacket. He's always in a white shirt if you can't remember him, believe me, you would. If you saw him, you would know immediately. He was an assistant wrestling coach at the Ohio State, and then became this right-wing congressman. And for those of you who forgot, there was a huge sex abuse case at Ohio State involving mostly the wrestling team.
Right, and
that
people
this guy
say there's no way he didn't know.
Was the assistant coach of.
Right.
For much of the time. It involved the, again, team doctor who now, according to...
Who was assaulting all the guys, and this guy turned his head the other way.
Right. And that's, he abused, the findings show this doctor who committed suicide, abused at least 177 athletes and men. Most
Who complained?
Of them, everyone complained. Everyone complained.
Yeah, I'm not asking who complained. I mean, they complained.
Yeah. The accounts were so numerous that investigators stopped even including an accounting of each one. But they involved things like
writing ditto instead.
Right. A wrestler going to this doctor because he had an ear problem, and the doctor fondling his genitals as part of his examination.
To ejaculation.
What? Do you know that, or did you just throw that in?
Yes, that was in the reports that I read, yes.
Well, obviously, these people freaked out. A lot of these kids absolutely freaked out. He was also known, get this, the doctor, everybody was talking about him because he sort of hung out in the wrestling locker room, and he was constantly taking showers with the students, sometimes several showers a day. I mean, the behavior's so odd that everybody was talking about it, and yet this Jim Jordan, the Republican congressman, has consistently denied knowing there was any abuse or hearing anybody talk about it. And that is obviously a lie.
Right. Well, he hears no evil, he sees no evil, but he speaks plenty.
Well, let me just share some of this. It's just beyond belief. He has even said that those who are accusing him of knowing are politically motivated, so they're just a bunch of Democrats who shouldn't be listened to. but 22 other coaches, except Jim Jordan, 22 other coaches at Ohio State confirmed that they were aware of rumors and complaints about the doctor. And here's one wrestler who was there when Jordan was there. From my experience, it was so publicly acknowledged within that community that I felt like it was open, public, acceptable, apparently, behavior. There are eyewitnesses to some guy who had just transferred from Purdue come storming out of his physical exam with this doctor, running straight into Jim Jordan, his assistant wrestling coach, and saying, I don't know what you guys do at Ohio State, but if this is the way you do physicals here, I'm transferring out. I'm out of here. Jim Jordan says he was unaware. There are eyewitnesses to these encounters with him. And he has said he's fully exonerated by the report that was put out. Who does that sound like? A report comes out, this all happened on your watch, you didn't do a thing, and yet you were clearly aware of it, according to a lot of eyewitnesses, and you can actually sit there and say that you're exonerated. Jesus. And they also tell another, says here, a number of other wrestlers were standing in the locker room at the time, and Mr. Jordan was standing in the doorway. And that episode was first corroborated by NBC News, then the New York Times, that in fact a third wrestler who was in the locker room during one episode confirmed that Jordan simply dismissed the guy who was squawking and screaming about the coach. Blew him off. Incredible. You know, it's just classic. If you're a guy who wants to fondle men's genitals and see naked, beautifully naked young athletes, I guess being a team doctor would be the thing.
Well,
to
and
be.
the coaches, too. I mean, the two things are the coaches and the doctors, which, begs the question, I guess.
Well, but it's also why people who want to molest children, that you go to places where the people you want to have access to are. So,
right.
And
where it makes sense for you to be there.
Right. Or if you're really lucky, you're just a family member, Uncle so-and-so, or the nice neighbor next door who your parents really like.
I know, but to get back to the way we opened the show, we are all assured that the cases of rape and incest among those seeking abortions are such a small percentage that it really doesn't matter. You really shouldn't consider that or use them as a group to explain why this is evil.
Yeah. Oh,
and also, and they will go further and say that because incest is a subcategory of rape, they may be counting those twice, and it might be even smaller.
Oh, God. Milton, who lives in Columbus, says the Jim Jordan story is much bigger here, as well it should be in Columbus. And since the report about Dr. Strauss was released last week, I think that Jordan will come under greater scrutiny. Many, many of the men who were assaulted claimed they complained to Jordan. So we'll see what happens in the near future, but Jordan has not heard the last of this. But he has the gall to call the people. I mean, there's a huge number now of wrestlers who say they told Jim Jordan or they saw somebody confront Jordan. I mean, all of them are lying, Democrats? And Jim Jordan is telling the truth? How does that guy retain his seat?
People aren't paying attention. Maybe they will now. It's like, it took the Walker in Wisconsin practically begging to lose the election he had to give away the whole state treasury for the next 50 years for people to get disgruntled enough to kick him out. Eventually, they do something that gets people's attention. I think in Jordan's case, the attention has been gotten.
Yeah.
May some nice woman run against him and be a Democrat.
Well, so he's obviously up for re-election.
Yeah.
2020. So in the Wall Street Journal today, there's a picture of two adorable old ladies. Here, I'll just hold it up a little bit. Can you see them? They're sisters. And they live in Pittsburgh, and they live in a personal care residence, Marion Hall. Not sure where that is. And these two they married brothers. They survived, their husbands, and they have sort of been together forever, even though there's a 16-year difference in their ages. So one is a lot more of a younger sister. But saying that, I will now give you their ages. The older sister, Anna Marie, is 108. And the young sister is, whatever 16 is from 108, 90 something. And they are
108,
92.
16, right.
92,
right.
And the older one, Anna Marie, got her first iPad when she was 100, and she is now on her third upgrade. She even FaceTimes and stuff with her great-great-grandchildren. And Susan, you gave me my first iPad, and I've never upgraded it. I've had it for like 10 years.
Well, it does whatever you want it to do.
Right.
I upgrade mine regularly, but I no longer use my computer.
Mm-hmm.
I do everything on my iPad.
On your iPad. But anyway, this is a whole
I have to say, along with just a little commercial, along with an iPencil, you can sign documents, you can, do your taxes remotely and, sign things with your very own signature instead of a remote signature. And it's just, it's better than a computer.
Okay. But I'm just saying they were part of a article about how more and more people are living to 100 and beyond in good health.
Well, our 96-year-old mother and I had lunch with a 103-year-old woman last week.
Mm-hmm. And she was in good shape?
Out. And she was in good shape. I mean, she couldn't hear worth a damn, but other than that, everything was working.
Yeah.
Everything was working just fine, and she was out to lunch in the most positive of senses with us. So I said, Mom, hang on, you got a way to go.
So she's looking at Mom and seeing a young thing.
And by the way, our mother also has an iPad and an iPhone, and she FaceTimes with her great-grandchildren, too.
That's right. These two ladies, though, they get up every day, they put on makeup, they wear outfits with earrings to match. They're very careful. They attend Mass. They eat breakfast together. They exercise 4 times a week. And they are increasingly not unusual. In 1995, there was one centenarian for every 10,000 people, 1 in 10,000. You know what it is now? And this is just since 95. Now there's one in 5,000. So it has doubled, the prevalence has doubled in just a few years.
Yeah.
So it brings up this issue of you want to live to be that old? And, I think most people would say, yeah, if I'm in good shape. But you don't want to.
And the fact of can I just say that I think most of the people that live to be that long are in that good shape?
Yeah.
I mean, the things that make you, a severe dementia, Alzheimer's, they have physical consequences as well, and you die from them. So you might be wheelchair bound, you might not have everything, but generally the people that are living long have retained a lot of what makes them them. That's what keeps them going.
And you know what else keeps them going? Because they're very clear.
Good genes, yeah.
Well, not just genes. It's attitude, because they found, all the studies they're now doing on these people, that many of those who live to be 100 are more optimistic than most people. They handle stress better. They are extroverted. They are conscientious, and they are agreeable. So they're nice people. What? They're nice.
Well, no, I mean, there's another way to say that. They're engaged in life.
Yes.
All of those qualities cause them to remain engaged in life. Those things make them interested, give them a purpose. I mean, if you're just sitting around with nothing to do and no one to love you and no one to love, you're going to die. You're going to wither and die. But if you remain engaged, even if it's just new friends, and and we'll just use our mother as an example. This woman's friends, most of them that her original friends have gone, but she is the queen of recycling. Their kids are her friends now, or she's got one young woman that our brother questioned as to her intent because she's a mere 50 years old. And this person explained, your mother is my best friend. And I adore her. Why wouldn't I? Why shouldn't I? And to which our brother had to admit there was no good answer. She simply had good taste.
Well, what would her intent be? I mean, what? She was going to...
Well, she thought, he couldn't understand why someone would, this young, successful woman would be hanging around Mom. I don't know what nefarious intent he was imputing to her, but the only thing she wanted was friendship. She just laughed at him. This is Andrea,
Yeah, I figured. Okay. So I just want you to, before we only got 2 minutes, but there's this quote here from a... bioethicist and vice provost at the University of Pennsylvania. He's 61 years old. And he says this about living for a long time. He says, I will be satisfied to reach 75. And he said, he's 61. And he says, after my 75th birthday, I will not get flu shots. I will not take any antibiotics. I will not get screened for cancer or undergo stress tests. And if I live longer, that's fine. He just says, I am going to refuse any extra medical steps to prolong life. I want to talk to this guy when he hits 75.
Yeah, me too. That is such bullshit. Because guess what, kiddo? When you hit 75, you're probably going to feel like you do right now at 61, and you're going to put it out there another 15 years. And if you're a doofus and you don't get on, I would suggest you try and be in better shape at 75 than you are at 61. A thing that I've managed to do since I was 48, I think. I've hit every decade in slightly better shape.
In many ways, I have too.
Previous decade.
Yeah, in many
That's
ways,
right.
I have too. Hills that I wouldn't climb, in my neighborhood. I'd go around to avoid them. I now look for when I'm walking the dog and head right up them.
And enjoy. I mean, I'll just flat out tell you, I'm proud of myself.
I know you are,
Suze. I'm proud of myself, and I look good too.
Yes, she does.
And so what this guy is saying is just nonsense unless he's sitting around, drinking beer and eating a lot of animal fat, and he'll, that's fine. You'll be dead at 75. There you go.
All right. I thought you might react that way. I did not react.
I'm
well
watching people in Oklahoma being rescued from floods and all of this terrible stuff. Honest to God.
God is angry at the people of Oklahoma
I'm
for
telling you,
electing
I was trying
Trump.
not to say that, but I just got to say, the red states
Are
God
taking
is angry.
Yeah, the red states are being visited by all manner
You
of
people
horror.
that are, you people that are seeking to control women, God, she's unhappy with you.
All right. Suze, gotta go.
Oh, wait a minute. Can I go? Let me go one short story. At Lori Lightfoot's mayoral induction last night.
In Chicago, right.
Yesterday, the benediction was given by a rabbi, an African-American gentleman who gave the most wonderful Jewish, I kept going, this doesn't look right, just did this wonderful benediction.
Is he the one that's related to, Michelle Obama has a relative that is a rabbi in Chicago.
Well, this guy's something, and at the end of it, he made clear he used the female adjective. No, it wasn't him. It was the guy that gave all the money at Morehouse for the
Okay. But you are mixing up a bunch.
I'm mixing it up, but anyway, there were two gentlemen I liked. Anyway, bye. Anyway, one of them called God or Her. I liked it. Bye.
Bye. Jeez, sorry we went over, but Susan had to mangle a story.
Just 11:01.
Okay. Bye, Suze. Bye, guys. See you tomorrow. Vote.
Lynn Cullen Live, Monday through Friday from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. and archived at pghcitypaper.com. The opinions expressed on Lynn Cullen Live are those of the host and do not necessarily reflect the viewpoints of Pittsburgh City Paper or its advertisers.